Admittedly, I didn't do a great job with this video, but now the patch notes are out, so we can go through every single buff and nerf very carefully, and there are a lot more buffs and nerfs making significant changes to the game in Season 1, so let's get into every single Marvel Rivals buff and nerf for Season 1. The first change is for Black Panther. He will now get less health when he marks a player and shifts towards them. It's only 30 health now instead of 40, and the maximum is only 75 now instead of 120. Next up we have Black Widow's buffs. The kick for Black Widow has had its range increase. It's now a 360-degree angle from 5 meters instead of 3 meters. The next buff for Black Widow is based on her sprinting. Once the stamina bar reaches 0, it now goes up much faster. It's only 4 seconds to recover now instead of 12 seconds. The third buff for Black Widow is that she now charges up her ultimate faster. It does full damage within 0.6 seconds instead of 1 second. Hawkeye has been nerfed. Firstly, the angle between every 2 arrows has been reduced. So if I stand right here and then shoot, you can see the current version. And this is what it looks like on the old version of the build. Yeah, those arrows go all over the place. So this is kind of actually a buff in a way, but his other abilities have been nerfed. In the past, you'd be able to target a bot and build up the charge from 60 meters. However, now it doesn't work. Now you need to get up to 40 meters. So you can see here it's not charging up. As soon as we get to 40 meters, it charges up. So that's a 20-meter nerf. Just for confirmation, at this distance, we can still charge up the shot when the bot is 60 meters away. So that is, yeah, 20-meter nerf. And the maximum additional damage has been reduced from 80 down to 70. It still one-shots most things though. So the Punisher can no longer be one-shot, which is pretty massive. Let's try it on Lunar Snow. He can be one-shot. And of course, the new Mr. Fantastic cannot be one-shot because he has 350 HP. Wow, he has 1 health left. That's crazy. There are a lot of rumors online that Hela received more buffs, but nope, she has only received a health buff. She now has 250 health instead of 275. Magik received a pretty nice damage buff. When she goes into her ultimate now and uses her E, it will do 135 damage instead of 115. Moon Knight has received a massive buff in his ultimate, so now it will do 14 talons coming down from the sky. And each talon will have a larger explosion radius. It's now 5 meters instead of 4 meters. So let me do a side-by-side comparison here. This is what it looks like. It's kind of hard to showcase the damage radius, but you can see that it's going to do more damage per ult now. Namor's buff allows him to throw the octopuses into a more accurate location. So it's going to be easier to throw them exactly where you want to. And the whole thing just feels a little bit more fluid now. Psylocke's ultimate has received a nerf. It will be countered now by more indestructible objects such as Magneto's bubble shield and Hulk's bubble shield. Quite hard to show in the firing range, honestly, but if you've got a shield that is usually indestructible, Psylocke's ultimate probably won't go through it now. Scarlet Witch has received a damage buff. Her basic attack now does 60 damage per second instead of 50. So as you can see, this is the difference. It's quite a bit faster. The difference is interesting on the percentage-based damage. So Scarlet Witch does damage based on percentage health, quite like Wolverine, but that has been reduced now, and now it only does 3% extra damage instead of 5% extra damage. So let's do a side-by-side comparison of this on the current build and the old build to see just what the difference is. So you can see here the timings on taking down a high-value target like Groot. The Storm buff is quite big. Firstly, the projectile speed, so the bullet travel time of her main attack has increased. It now flies through the air at 150 meters a second instead of 100 meters a second. So it's going to be easier to hit your targets long range. The full damage of the attack has been increased as well. It now does 55 damage instead of 50 damage. Now this is really important because all of her abilities basically increase the amount of damage that they do. So 55 base damage now gets a percentage boost, so it's going to scale based on that extra 5 damage, which is quite a big deal. And then when we activate this ability here, we'll do even more damage per hit. So it's really, really strong now. The second attack, the right click, has also had its damage increased. It used to do 70 and now it does 80. And finally, when you use the ultimate ability for Storm, you'll get an extra damage health boost. So it used to be 350, but now you get an extra 450 health. Also be sort of diminishing over time instead of disappearing immediately. There's a lot of abilities that do this, but as you can see in the bottom, it now diminishes over time instead of disappearing immediately. Squirrel Girl has had a change to her ultimate. Once you throw it, after the first bounce, it will now go towards the nearest enemy instead of bouncing randomly. So if we hit it here, it will bounce off the wall and go straight towards the enemy instead of bouncing randomly. Now, as a sort of like counter to this, the health of the Squirrel Girl ultimate has been reduced. It's now 300 instead of 600. Soldier's base health has been increased from 250 now to 275. Sonic Hook will also provide a larger bonus health amount. It now gives you 40 instead of 30. Normal damage from his main weapon has been increased. It now does 75 damage per shot instead of 70, which is a 5 damage increase. That will, of course, help with critical damage as well. And at 40 meters, the damage decay is less now. It used to be 65% of your damage would be taken away, but now it's only 60%. So you're going to do more damage at longer range, as you can see here. Wolverine gets a 50 health increase to his base health. However, to counter that a little bit, his E ability will now take less damage reduction. He will take 40% damage reduction instead of 50. Captain America has received a buff as well. Take a look at the time it takes for his shield damage or shield health to recharge after it reaches 0. It's a slight difference. It now will take 2 seconds instead of 3. And you can see in the left here, it's charging up over time and the difference between each build. So it's just a slight increase. The Liberty Rush cooldown has also been changed. It is now 10 seconds instead of 12 seconds. Captain America's base health has also increased. It is now 675 instead of 650. Now the ultimate has changed. It now takes less energy to charge up, which means you'll get it more often. You're going to get it, it's 3,100 instead of 3,400. And on top of that, you're going to get less health provided per second. It's 100 health per second instead of 110 now. Doctor Strange will now do less damage with his E at longer distances. There will be a maximum of 70% reduced damage at 8 meters, starting at 5 meters. So because we've got the 5 meter line, I can showcase this very easily. This is how much damage it does at this distance on the old, or the current build, sorry. And this is how much damage it does on the old build. Shield recovery time now for Doctor Strange's shield has changed as well. You'll get 70 shield recharge per second now instead of 80. And you can see the difference in speed on screen. Thor now has an extra 25 health to his base health. And on top of that, during his ultimate, he can't be controlled by a certain number of effects. It's going to take some time to test what those are exactly. But he's basically not going to be... he's going to be more invulnerable and immune to cancelling his ultimate. Hulk got a nerf. His shield now has 50 less damage before it breaks. So it's 200 now instead of 250. Venom has now received a couple of buffs. The first is his E ability. The amount of bonus health that scales with how low his health is has been increased from 1 to 1.2. So this is how much you would get, say, on 50 HP now. And you can see the difference to what it was in the past. Venom's ultimate has been buffed as well. The base damage it does is now 50 instead of 40. Cloak and Dagger has received a couple buffs. First, Dagger's right-click ability's cooldown has gone from 15 seconds now to 12 seconds, so you get it more often. And the ultimate actually has 4 dashes now instead of 3 dashes, which is a nice improvement. Jeff the Shark will now do more healing. He will have 150 seconds of healing instead of 140 healing per second. Jeff the Shark's ultimate hitbox has changed as well. So the actual surface area hasn't changed, but the height has gone from 10 meters to 5 meters, which means players flying in the sky aren't going to be caught as easily. Lunar Snow's ultimate has changed. You're not going to be able to spam it as often in different states anymore. It's a 0.5 second change between each state instead of 0.1 seconds, which is a really important change because honestly, it was kind of busted before.
I am ready to put on a show.
Mantis's movement speed has been nerfed quite a lot, so she gets faster movement when she's got full health. However, it's been nerfed from 2.5 meters a second to 1.5 meters a second, so she's going to move a lot slower, which means she's going to be easier to hit. This is quite a big Mantis nerf. Raccoon got a healing buff as well. His little healing repair things will do 70 healing per second instead of 60 healing per second now, which is nice. And the team up, which I'll get into a minute, has been buffed, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I somehow missed the Punisher earlier. They've reduced the spread of Deliverance and Education, so both of his main attacks have less spread now. They said in the patch notes that we're slightly increasing the damage capability, but didn't give damage value. So I think only the spread has increased. So, I mean, I didn't really feel like there was much spread on the main attack anyway. But this is what it looks like on the current build, the new Season 1 build. Say the shotgun here. Say the shotgun here. So a full mag does this much damage from the 20-meter mark whilst aiming at the head. And now let me show you what it is like on the old build. I just want to go over the patch notes for the team-up abilities, because these do change. There's no new team-up abilities besides the Fantastic Four ones, but the damage changes will change things. So Hawkeye's getting a damage nerf, Hela is getting a damage nerf, Lunar Snow is getting a damage buff for Namor's little octopus things. So Namor's going to get a big buff. Raccoon is getting a cooldown buff to the infinite ammo thing. It's 40 seconds now instead of 45, which is ridiculous. And Magneto's damage is getting more damage as well for the Scarlet Witch Magneto buff, which is kind of pretty cool. I thought that was pretty strong already. And the Thor, Storm, and Captain America buff is going to help Storm get more damage. And finally, we now have a look at the pick rate and win rate of all characters for Season 0. You can choose quick play, competitive, console, PC, and even filter it by ranked. So let's choose Diamond rank and see the win rate of the best characters. Hulk has the highest win rate, followed by Magik, Mantis, Rocket Raccoon, Iron Man go all the way to the bottom, and we see Black Widow with the lowest win rate. But if we just choose quick play, you can see a very big difference. Go right to the bottom, and, well, no, never mind. Black Widow's still terrible. But yeah, I'll put a link in the description if you want to check this out for yourself. It's pretty interesting.